give people a moment to turn up.
Sure.
All right, we're live.
Fab.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Ooh, that's you hosting.
Yes, I'll send a tweet.
I will also send tweets and Facebooks. Yeah.
Oh wow, you zoomed it in so much of my face. Zoom that out. Zoom that shit out.
I don't know how to zoom out.
Why is it so... Why is my face ginormous, Eden?
I don't know why your face is
Zoom it
ginormous.
out. Make it smaller.
How do I make it
I
smaller?
look like a giant floating head and then you look like a normal person. Zoom it out.
How do you
like,
zoom
make
out?
it smaller.
How do you zoom out?
Take the corners and drag them in, Ian.
Oh, okay. There. You can be
I have to
itty
wait
bitty.
for it to... Why? Keep going. Oh, now it's gone. Right, now I can put that in the middle. And then we can fix that. Leave it. No. Put it in the whole. No. Put it in the whole frame, and let me just move my camera to the center.
What?
All right.
What's wrong with a giant head?
I don't want to be a giant head, Ian.
There. How does that look?
No, how would you feel if I put you on my stream and instead of including your body, I just made a giant webcam of your head only?
I have a pretty head. Okay, I can handle it. Okay, happy?
Sure.
Okay. Oh my gosh, we set this up all professional like, and then you said it was fine.
I didn't see it because I've been looking at the review screen. I trusted you.
Oh, that was silly.
Obviously misplaced.
You trusted me with technology?
Now I know not to.
No, never trust you with technology.
No.
No.
Alright, looks like people are starting to jump in.
Yeah,
Hey,
hello
guys.
everybody. Kedmonga, an MP fan, Waynes, Madeline, Screwball. Trust in Eni? No, don't trust in Eni, Waynes. Don't do that. Don't do that. So, we're going to do a tournament review. This is a tournament I played either early this year or last year.
Okay.
Late last year. And I've loaded up the last 100 hands of it. We won't get time to go through that many. But we'll go through a bunch. So it's in the...
An online tournament.
Huh?
An online tournament.
An online tournament, yeah.
You can export hands that you've done on some clients into this to look at later.
Yeah, so you can.
Or did you
do
have to
some
manually
studying.
put them all in?
No, there's a thingy that lets you do it. The program
Right.
does it for you.
I'm gonna have to try and adjust my eyes to this program now because I'm used to looking at Unibet so much.
It's not so bad. It's not so bad. So it's very much the later stages of the tournament. At this point, it might be the last 6 players actually. Maybe we could do. No, that's okay. So I think there's 6 players left in this tournament. It was a $50 buy-in.
Right.
NMP fans laughing at me. RSPCA, we love Mr. Simpson. Hello, dude. So let's jump in.
Okay.
So we're in the big blind with Jack 5 of hearts. Villain number 2 raises, and we've got a decision to make. What do you want to do?
How much is Villain raising for?
He's raised 63,000, and the big blind's 30,000. Can you not see that?
Oh yeah, no, I can see it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
So it's just
that's just a normal raise.
yeah, just no raise, just a tiny little over more than 2 big blinds.
And he's on the cutoff.
Yep.
5 jack suited.
We haven't talked too
I feel
much
like
about.
we can...
We haven't talked too much about big blind defense. We've done a little bit. Maybe
we've done a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm inclined to play it because they're suited, just to call.
Good.
And then see a flop.
I like it. It's exactly what I want to do too. Hello, Farini. So, now in this situation, what do we often do as the big blind after we've called a raise?
We check to the aggressor.
We check to the aggressor. There's some rare exceptions, but we'll save them for another day.
Okay.
And as expected, our opponent bets, and now we've got a decision.
Well, we made a pair of jacks, which is middle pair. I would call.
We also need to have a little bit of thinking about what's going to happen next. So all the different turn cards, we kind of need to think about having a plan for. We need to think, what are we going to do if the 2 of diamonds comes out? What are we going to do if the 5 of spades comes out? And things like that. But we'll take it one step at a time. So we do call. And we get a rotten turn card.
That's gross, yeah.
Now what?
Check.
I like it. Thankfully, our opponent checks too. This is the only hand I've actually looked at, by the way. I've looked at this hand, and I've looked at the whole cards of the second hand. Everything else, I'm coming in totally raw.
Sure.
What stage of the tournament are we playing? We are in the last 100 hands. There are 6 players left and a $50 buy-in tournament. So it's the final table.
So we're on the final table.
Yeah. So, both players check on the turn, and we get a 9 on the river. What's your idea now?
I mean, that river card could be an improvement because they did they bet on the flop, so they could have 10 king.
They could have 10 king. Well, that would they'd already have that with the ace.
Ah, true, that's right.
They could have 10-8, I guess.
They could, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the safe thing to do is check and then call any bet, or call a reasonable bet.
Okay.
Or
I did check. We feel. I mean, it's a really gross spot about whether we should call or not. Because he could feasibly have a bunch of drunk hands. Because he opened from the cutoff, he could just be stealing with like an 8, like a 7-8 suited or something like that. He could have a diamond draw. It's missed by the river. So there are things we beat. It depends how much he bets, really. If he bet like 200k, we'd get out of there. If he bet 100k, I'd be really, really on the fence. I'd be really worried that maybe they have like ace-5 and they checked on the turn trying to protect themselves. I'd be much more comfortable calling with a queen. I'd certainly be calling if I had an ace. I think jack with no kicker, I'd probably be leaning towards a fold if they did bet again. I'd be too suspicious of them having an ace. That's me personally.
Even though they check the turn, you'd still be suspicious.
Yeah, I think if they were going to bluff, and then they would bluff this turn card, because this turn card, well, when we saw it, we said it's gross, right?
Yeah,
and they should know that that's going to be.
They have it.
Yeah, they should know that that's gross for us. At least a bunch of the time, it'll be gross for us. So if they were gonna bluff, I feel like they would have bluffed this card because it's the scariest card in the deck almost.
Yeah.
So I feel like if we were gonna see a bluff, we would see it then.
Okay.
So they check back and they actually turn up with 6-7 suited.
7-6. Oh.
Now, what do we think of how this player played? They raised pre-flop. What do we think of that? In the cutoff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to play 7-6 suited. Absolutely. Yeah.
And they've decided to fire. They've done a one and done bluff, as I call it. They decided they're going
to. One tried to bluff us, but they didn't bluff us on the ace.
Yeah.
So.
I think.
And then they checked all the way.
I think if I was this player, I might have checked that ace, almost trying to say I do actually have something half decent, because usually when people check, they have a chance of winning at showdown. So,
and then probably put a bluff in on the river, so that you fold.
That's what I would have done, because this hand I would have been really close to folding. I probably would have folded it if they bet like 150k, and their little story would make sense, because they could have ace-5, right? They could have like jack-9. They could have queen-9. Yeah. These hands would make sense. They could have king-10. That hand would make sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of hands that they can have in that position.
Yeah, and I could have a 3 here. I could have pocket 7s here, and they could make all those hands fold. They could even make a jack fold. So I think with this hand, since I've got no chance of winning when I say check on the river, I would probably
there's no point in checking all the way if there's an opportunity to bluff someone out of that hand, then you might as well take it because 7-6 is not going to win just by checking.
So I think, I agree. I think that one more bullet on the river there would have worked for the villain too there, and I think they should a lot of the time. Now don't get me wrong, it'll get called sometimes. We'll have ace 3, we'll have queen 10, and we'll make a call, and they'll feel dumb. But a lot of the time we'll have a hand like this, and they'll win, and it'll be good. So. Okay, let's move on to the next hand. So the very next hand, so we're in the small blind.
Yep, we're in the small blind with pocket 6s.
And villain 3 here raises, and we've got a decision to make. So one thing we want to think about is how many big blinds everybody has. So villain 3 has about 20 big blinds. So 30,000 is the big blind. He's got he had 600,000 before he put in his raise. So 30 goes into 600 20 times. So he's got 20 big blinds.
Yep.
And now we got a decision with 6s.
I think this was the conversation that we had about set mining and about how many big blinds does a person have.
Can I interrupt you a second?
Sure.
Can you see me?
Hang on. I can't see you.
You can't see me? My webcam?
I can if I load up the stream.
Oh, okay, never mind. It's just Darwin jumped on my lap.
Hello! Hello!
Hello, sweetheart.
Oh,
I thought you'd like to see him.
Baby.
Come here, say hi to Sophia. Oh, there we go.
Oh.
He's the sweet one. The other one's a little bit vicious.
Oh.
She's learning. She's getting softer. Anyway, sorry I interrupted. I thought interrupting you for a cat would be okay.
That's okay. Yeah. Always interrupt me for cats.
So, you're on the right track though. So continue what you were saying.
I don't remember exactly what the rules are when it comes to set mining again, but I think that they need to have a certain amount behind them before you can call.
Yeah, absolutely. I usually want to be able to win 15 times what I'm putting in. Give or take. It can vary. If like the pair's decently strong, like 6s kind of is, I can say I want 10 times. Because that sort of compensates for the fact that we can get to the river and win without making a set.
Okay, but they don't have 10 times.
Well, we need to put in 45,000, give or take.
Yes, okay, yeah.
So they just about have it, and 6s are strong enough that they can win without making another 6.
Yeah.
So I'd be inclined to call. I can't remember what I did, because sometimes I get aggressive in spots like this. So we'll have to see. I'm a little nervous.
Enie's crazy eyes.
Enie's crazy eyes do come into it sometimes. I wouldn't hate a 3-bet. The only problem, if you 3-bet here, you can't really fold if this guy goes all in. You kind of just have to run with it, and you know, you'll be in a flip a lot of the time, but you'll be against the higher pair a bunch of the time too. So hopefully I just call, but we'll see. I do just call. Good. Yep. Well done, Enie. Well done, Enie. No crazy eyes. So we get a flop, 2 other cards, a 4, a jack, and a queen. We check to the raiser, and the villain bets. Yeah. What do you want to do?
Well, I mean, I'm not. Oh.
My phone telling me to put the bins out. Hello, Syrinx. Hello, Bergie. How you guys doing? What would people in chat do here? Are they going to call 1-bet? Or are they going to just fold? Or are they going to do something crazy and raise?
Is it worth call? I don't know if it's worth calling 1-bet or if it's just
I don't know if it is either. Strangely enough, you'd be better off with ace-4 suited than pocket 6s here.
Yeah.
Because ace-4 suited would have 5 outs to improve, any ace or any 4. Whereas pocket 6s only have 2 outs to improve.
Yeah.
So I think, while I do advocate being sticky a lot of the time, I think in this case, maybe we just have to surrender. Like, there's so many turn cards that aren't good for us. Like, there isn't a good turn card for us except a 6.
Yes.
Even if this guy is bluffing, what are we going to do on the turn if they bet and it's like the turn becomes a 9 and they bet again? We're going to feel pretty grim.
Yeah. I think I would probably get rid of the 6s.
Yeah. Hopefully I do, but I do get pretty sticky. Oh, I folded. Oh my gosh. I did it. I kind of thought maybe I would call. I guess I was on form there. Good. No, I do advocate to fold that too. So that's good. Let's go to the next hand. So we're on the button.
Yes.
Folds to us. Whoops.
Yes.
Spoiler alert.
Uh-huh.
Now we have 30 big blinds. So we are going to raise. I think this is a tiny bit lazy from me. I like to raise just a little bit more than the minimum, especially on the button. I would raise it like 63 or 64,000 personally. So that's just a little tiny lazy mistake from my part there. Because when we're on the button, we can play slightly bigger pots because we have an advantage. We have position.
Right, okay.
So I just raise a little bit more.
Yep, okay. Fair enough, yeah. King 9 suited. Would play that, for sure.
And everyone folds. Okay, that was easy. Well played, Dini. Well played, Dini.
Yep.
Alright, so we have Ace 5 offsuit now in the cutoff. What you thinking?
We're not in... Oh, yeah, okay, we are. Never mind. Ignore that.
Yeah, there's two dead seats.
Like, hang on a minute. There's no one's there. Okay, yes. Yeah, I mean, Ace 5 up... and if... Yeah, I mean, why not?
Why not?
Why would you not? Yeah, I mean...
I've got a little nitty. I think there's two things that's made me fold. I've been a little bit active, which isn't so much of a bad thing. I think it is fine to open this. I've got 30 big blinds, so that's a factor. If we all had like 50 big blinds, I would open it. I wonder if any of these guys were particularly aggressive. Like, these two villains, number 5 and number 2, could 3-bet all in quite liberally. So for those of you who don't know, 3-bet all in would be when one player raises and then the other person re-raises all in. So I wonder if these guys have been doing that reasonably often, and that's made me go a little bit shy with this hand.
Be a bit knee.
Yeah. So yeah, I think an open would be fine. A fold is okay as well, though, under the certain circumstances. So if we were at if we were all like 50 big blinds deep, and we were at a full table, and we were, you know, on the cutoff, I open every ace except ace 6 offsuit.
Yep.
That's me personally. And and I open a bunch of other hands as well. So this is a little bit nitty, and I wonder if that is the reason why I'm worried about these guys 3-betting all in. That might have been why.
Sure.
So I did fold. We might as well have a watch. And yeah, so this guy limps villain 5, and villain 2 says, "Okay, I'm all in." Oh wow, that's a call.
Okay. Oh, and he called. Okay, that would be why then. It makes sense that was your.
And I ran into it, and I don't think either player made a mistake there. So Ace Deuce, reasonable hand to bluff with. In the villain 5, when they call their small blind, they could have any old bluff, because really any 2 suited cards, I guess they...
Yeah.
So villain 5 played it well. They just called and set up the trap for villain 2 and got paid off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. If you're saying that these players, you had a feeling that they were 3-bet all in, I think that doing a call there with jacks and then calling an all in is a nice
True.
little trap. Yeah. All right, now what's going on here?
Oh, sorry, I just skipped a hand because we had rubbish cards. Might as well have a watch and see what these guys do. So villain 5 opens and villain 4 calls. 3 jack 4, villain 4 checks. So what kind of hands are you going to put villain 5 on now? So they raise pre-flop, the big blind called.
Yep.
And they've bet the flop. What kind of hands could they have? And yes, it is being recorded, Spurs. So what kind of hands make sense for villain 5 to have a bet with here?
Ace 3, ace 4.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like 9 jack suited.
Yeah, all kinds of hands like that, and they could have the big hands, the aces, the kings, the queens. So whenever you're in a hand, whenever you're watching a hand, you should try and get into the habit of thinking what hands make sense for all the action that's been going on. Mm-hmm. So try and put a range of hands on the villains and try and figure out what they're doing and why. And they bet and they win, and that's fine.
And we never know what hand he had.
And we never know what hand he had.
Gross.
Okay, so villain 5 opens, and we're in the big blind with 9-3.
Yep.
What do you want to do?
Get rid of it.
Good. Please Foldini, please Foldini, hooray. If that was a call, it would have been a misclick. Alright, let's go to... so yeah, ooh. So, villain opens under the gun, an ace-3 offsuit, definitely not good enough to contend there, especially when we're definitely out of position in the small blind. So we just get rid. 10-6 and the button... Okay. If this player had folded, what would you do with this hand? So imagine villain 4 folds.
Oh no, okay. I mean, I'll probably get rid of it as well.
Good, good. Glad you remember our opening hand lessons. Just a little too weak for me. Didn't used to be back in the day. Alright, so same situation as we were in, a similar situation as we were in with the ace-5 last orbit, but now we've got ace-9. So you said you would raise the ace-5. I hopefully raise the ace-9. Yeah, I didn't get too nitty. So I do raise, everyone folds, easy game. Queen 9, not good enough. Fold that. Aha, here's a real hand.
Ace queen.
We're under the gun, so we'll start with a raise.
Yes.
Oh my. Oh my.
Yeah, but he's only all in for 158k.
So
like, it would be crazy not to call that.
So we've got 30 big blinds.
Oh no, he's not all in.
No, he's not all in.
And you see all the chips, and I'm like, he's all in.
Ah, no. Villain's got a lot more chips than us.
Yes, I would call it though.
Just a call? Yeah, I didn't think I would just call.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
With 30 big blinds, I'm a little bit more inclined just to get it all in, because if our opponent folds, we're gonna win almost 300k.
Yeah.
Now we have 900k, so that's like a 33% increase of our stack, which is pretty huge. If they just fold, and if they call, well, they can have a whole bunch of hands that we're actually doing pretty good against. They can have like jacks and 10s and 9s.
Yes.
They can have ace jack suited, might call, might not. I'm not really sure what they'll do with ace jack suited. They might have just called with ace jack suited pre-flop actually, so maybe they don't have ace jack suited. There are times when it's a disaster, and they rock up with ace king, and they rock up with aces or kings or queens. But we can't always see the monsters under the bed, and I think with 30 big blinds, I'm happy to get it all in here. Some people might disagree with me because of something called ICM. Now that's a thing in tournaments when the pay jumps affect your decisions.
When the what affects?
The pay jumps. So when the sit and goes, the esports sit and goes you guys play, how top 3 get money.
Yeah.
So when you're in 4th place, you really, really don't want to bust. You don't want to go out 4th place. You want to survive and get into the money. That same concept applies even when you're in the money, just to a lesser extent. So some people might shy out of getting it all in here, but I think ace queen's just too strong. Especially there's only 6 players left. So with 6 players left, hand strength goes way up. So I'm going to go all in, and we get the fold.
Okay.
And we bump ourselves up to 1.1 million.
Yeah.
The problem with flat calling as well is that we're going to be out of position, and we're going to miss the flop like 2/3 of the time, and we're going to be really stuck as to what to do. If they do have a bluffing hand now, and they bluff again, and we don't have a pair, then
we're going to fold, and we've lost quite a lot. You're right. I think that's the best. Makes sense.
Ooh, what have I done? Misclick.
Queen 5.
We fold, but I'm curious to see what happens here. Sorry, I've gone a little fast. Villain 1 opens, the same person who 3-bet us a minute ago. Villain 2's all in for just 7 big blinds.
Yep.
So no surprise the villain 1 calls, and what happens? Ace 10 loses to 7s. So both players played it perfectly reasonably. 10-7. No good. 6-5 offsuit on the button. What you want to do?
Yeah, we can play it. It's folded to us.
Oh, you are far too loose. Far too loose.
Well, you know, I had this conversation with Scott yesterday, actually, and he said to me that the fact that they're suited only increases our chance by something like 2% to win.
Yeah, but I take that 2%. Let me show you something if I can. Okay.
I mean,
can you see this little infographic, the hand equity calculator?
Yes. Yeah.
So, if you remember from my starting hands tutorial, I said I played about 50% of the hands when I'm on the button. And if I remember right, I think... Was it these hands? Something like that. Something like that. Now, if you play too many hands on the button, you'll end up bluffing too much. So while you're right that 6-5 suited and 6-5 offsuit, there's only like a 2 or 3% difference in those two hands. What matters most is how many hands you're playing on the button overall. Because if you play 6-5 suited and 6-5 offsuit, if you play the offsuit ones and the suited hands of the same caliber, all of a sudden you've got 60% of hands, even more so. You're going to be playing 60-odd% of hands. Now the problem with that is it means you've got all these junk hands after the flop that you don't really know what to do with. It means that you're going to end up bluffing too much. Because invariably when you have lots of junk hands, the only way to win with them is to bet. So you've got 13% more junk hands in your range. That's 13% more hands you're going to be inclined to bluff with. And if that's the case, then and your opponent's cotton on to that, they're just going to call you more often. Because you're bluffing too much and they're going to take your money. So while you're absolutely right, 6-5 offsuit and 6-5 suited, there's not much difference in them at all if you run them against each other, like say against aces or whatever. But the important thing is that it affects what hands you're bluffing with after the flop overall.
Okay.
So
we fold it.
So I would fold this one. These are the hands
I would pick. It because it folded to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand the want to raise, and some people would raise it, and people do. I think it's a mistake, unless you know your opponents are really nitty. If your opponents are really nitty, you can play lots and lots of hands. If your opponents aren't observant, and you can get away with bluffing more, then you should bluff more. But sort of by default, I want to raise about 50% of hands. So that looks something like that. Something like that. It varies, but something like that. Now you can change this, and you could pick different hands. Like you could not raise 3-4 suited and raise Jack-7 offsuit instead. Kind of comes under preferences, like a little suit connector or offsuit slightly bigger cards. Doesn't matter too much. What matters is the number of hands you actually play, because that affects the hands you bluff with later on. That makes sense? So I personally ditched that one.
Okay.
10-3, we won't play that. 5-7, no. Ace-7 offsuit. Under the gun, no, we'll fold that. I'll just skip to some interesting hands. Ace-10 offsuit. Oh dear me.
Excuse me for the yawning.
That's okay.
Okay, Ace-10 under the gun.
We've got... The blinds have gone up by now, so we've got about 30 big blinds. It's an awkward bloody number to do maths with, but it's about 30 big blinds. Eeny Euler down chair. Sorry about that, everybody. So, what do you want to do with Ace-10 offsuit? We are 6-handed, remember. So while we're in first position, there's still only 5 people to beat.
Yeah, raise it. And then if anyone re-raises it, then probably fold it.
I like it. So we do raise, just the minimum raise, and we get called. And we get an interesting little flop. Villain checks to us, as we suspect. And what do we want to do here?
Put in a bet.
Yeah, bet would be fine. One thing that's pertinent. Oh my god, I broke it. One thing that might be pertinent is... Ooh, it's displaying a little funny.
Oh dear.
If we go back to the... Oh my gosh, it's gone a bit weird. One thing... I just coloured them back in. Okay, so one thing that might be pertinent, we got to think about all the hands we do raise with when we're in first position with 5 people to act. Off the top of my head, that's probably something like... That, maybe? Something like that? So what we've got to do, we've got to put all these hands into 2 buckets. We've got to decide, are we going to bet them or are we going to check them? Now, ace-10 offsuit is here. That's only one itty-bitty decision to make. What we've got to do, if we want to be...
That's ace-10 suited. Oh wait, no, I can't.
So yeah, what we've got to do, we've got to decide which bucket to put in all these different hands. We need to have hands that we check that are pretty good, and hands that we check that are not so good. And same for betting. We've got to bet some bluffing hands, and we've got to bet some good hands. So that's the kind of thing we're thinking about when we're deciding whether to bet or not. We're deciding what to do with all the different hands that we could possibly have.
Okay.
So I have decided to bet. So we're on the same line of thinking here. I think this hand works for both. We can check it or we can bet it. I don't mind at all. We should be against a reasonably weak hand here because they just called in the big blind.
Yes.
Now, if we bet and they fold, that's a great result. Because if they just have, like, I don't know, king 8 with a club, they're probably making a mistake by folding on the face of it. Because they got really great odds because I'm only betting small. So if we induce a mistake from a hand like that and we just win the pot and secure the pot, that's great because these chips are pretty precious. Like there's almost 200,000 out there, and we only have 800,000. So securing these chips, it's pretty important. So I have opted to bet, and my opponent's called, and we get a 5. Oh my gosh, this is weird. Instead of checking to us, they've bet into us.
Okay, so he's trying to say that he had a backdoor flush draw and that he hit one of his diamonds now.
Yeah, that would make sense. You could have, like, I don't know, king 9 of diamonds or something that now wants to bluff.
Yeah.
What else could he have?
Fives?
Pocket 5s? Yeah, sure. Could have maybe 10-5 or queen 5, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
So they could have diamonds, they could have clubs, they could have 2 pairs, sets. So we've got to decide what to do with our ace-10. So we look at the odds. So we're getting 3-1. So we only have to win 1 time in 4 overall for this to be a good call. Does he have enough diamond hands, enough club hands, enough maybe like Jack 9 maybe plays like this? Does he have those hands enough to make the call is the question we've got to ask.
I don't know what to do here.
That's okay. I think I would like to call.
Yeah.
Because the convention is usually to check to the razor. The only reason you should be betting out is if a card really improves your range of hands instead of improving the opponent's range of hands. And this card shouldn't improve anyone really very much. Both of us can have 2 diamonds. So the card's equally nothing to both of us.
Yeah.
So it's kind of strange that he's betting out. So I'm inclined to call and see what he does on the river.
Yep.
And the river comes in at the queen. Now, this makes it a lot harder for him to have a hand like king-queen.
Yes.
Because there's just less queens.
There's only 2 queens now.
There's only 2 queens left in the deck because there's 2 accounted for. And my opponent checks.
And now he's checking, yeah.
So now what?
At this point, we know that he... I'd be inclined to put in a bet here.
I love it. I love it. How much? Well, you've got 725 and there's 600.
That's almost... Yeah, you want to... You need that stack at this point, I think.
It'd be lovely to get that 600k. It'd be lovely to get a little bit more out of him as well, because I don't think this guy's a queen. Not the way he's played.
No, he doesn't have a queen.
I'd be flabbergasted to see anything strong, to be honest. I think they're probably pretty weak.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't have a queen. Yikes. I mean...
So if we think our opponent's quite weak, and we kind of want to be cheeky and get a call out of him, how big should we go if we think they're weak?
Half the pot? Or... No, if they're weak, then... I don't know, maybe like 200 and...
Lovely.
200k.
That's exactly what I want to do here. Perfect. I don't know if I do it. I hope I do. But that's exactly what I want to do. I don't think it's going to get called very often, but I'm hoping that they have like a 10. Maybe they have like 9-10 that they've played strange.
Okay, and then obviously you have the ace kicker. So
and I've got the ace kicker. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for. Oh, I'm such a nit bitch. I can't believe I checked. That's awful. That's awful. Djarii. What do they have? 6-5 suited. So they tend to. So that kind of makes sense for what they did. They flopped a flush draw and check called, and the 5 did improve them, like we suspected, just not in a way that we actually thought about. So that's 6-5 of clubs. So that does make sense.
Yeah. I mean,
kind of. It's not how I would have played it, but you can kind of see how they were thinking.
Yeah, for sure. At this point they only need one more club, and to take down a hand before they even see the river is going to be beneficial to them, because they don't want to not hit their flush draw. And yeah, I mean, but I don't think that you were. I don't think that the way that you played meant that you had anything that you didn't have anything on the flop.
Yeah,
like I feel
not necessarily.
Like you have a little something.
Yeah. I usually do when I bet. I rarely do like a balls out eagle bluff with nothing. It's rare for me. It happens. You see the crazy eyes. Shush. We don't talk about that hand. Shush.
It haunts me.
It haunts you. How do you think I feel? I was the embarrassed one.
Why did you not just shove on the river?
I love how
Alan you're playing against. He's the nittiest bitch on the table.
I love how your criticism isn't that I 3-bet bluffed with 7-2 offsuit. It's that I didn't triple barrel bluff with it.
I respect that you wanted to play that, because you would have been a hero
it would have been
if
so
you pulled
good.
it off. But you just pulled out way too soon.
Oh my god. So yeah. So I would have liked the small bet on the back to the poker. I would have liked the small bet on the river there, but I guess I nit bitched out of it. So there's that. He might have called a bet. He might have thought we had missed diamonds. We could have king jack. We could have ace jack, and those hands have missed. So he might have called a bet there. Maybe. So
yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. So we'll fold that. Ace 10 offsuit. Let's have a look at this hand. Let me just say hello to a few people in the chat. Evolution Poker and Silent Tree were advocating a bet as well. Djarii. Yeah, I like it. Oh, Sick Hangover's here. Oh my gosh. Sick Hangover's a sick poker player. Me and him do some work together just like this quite a lot. Oh my gosh. You okay?
Me? I'm just putting the kettle on.
Oh right, Jesus. You disappeared without a word. I was like, fuck, what's happened?
I said this gives me an opportunity to put the kettle on.
Oh, okay. I'll talk to chat. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Ian pulled out too soon. Oh my gosh. She's done. Hello, short one. Hello, Maestro. Hello, everybody. If the guy check raised all in, then it's a tough call. Yeah, if we did bet that river and they check raised all in, it would be very, very weird. I would imagine it would be either really, really strong, like pocket queens or something ridiculous, or they would just be full of bupkis. So Sophia got too disappointed with you checking in on the river, so she's left. Yeah.
More or less.
Sick Hangover wants 1 sugar in his cup of tea.
Ha! I put 3 in mine.
You put 3?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot of sugar.
That's a lot of sugar.
That's a lot of sugar.
Sophia got too disappointed with you chickening out on the river. Totally understand.
Okay, so it folds to us. We're in the small blind. And we have ace 10 offsuit. What shall we do?
Yeah, I mean, raise. It's only 2 people in the hand, right?
Now, we haven't talked about this battle at all. In fact, I've got a little article I'll give you to read that I wrote quite a while ago. I do a lot of limping in this spot. I just call. Just remember the guy with jacks earlier?
Yeah, true. Yeah, if you have a strong hand, then you can obviously, like, if he raises you now, you can even 3-bet him, or...
Yeah. The problem we have is that we're going to be out of position the entire hand.
Yeah, we are.
For all of the hands that I play, I want the pot to be small. So if I have, like, 7-8 suited, I definitely want to see a flop, but I want to get it cheaply. But if I want to do that with 7-8 suited, if I just want to call with 7-8 suited, I have to do the same with my big hands too, otherwise they're going to figure out what I'm up to.
Yep.
Now, there's exceptions to this rule. I will raise sometimes if I think I can get it in against the worst range. I'll raise and call they're all in. Or if I think my opponent's really nitty, I'll raise and just make them fold. So, yeah. I typically limp everything I want to play, especially when we have like 35 bigs. Yeah, sometimes I raise with 35 bigs, actually. So I'll be interested to see what I do here. I could go either way. I don't think raising's bad at all. Yeah, it's pretty close, actually. I'm not sure which is best, raising or just calling. I probably just call, but I could see myself raising too. So we do just call. Opponent checks, and we get a flop. Now what?
Stop there. And now I would just bet.
Yeah. How much?
Half pot.
Oh, that's quite a lot. Typically, we know our opponents just check their big blind. So, what kind of hands do we think they have?
Yes.
Hey, Sko.
Ian's just high. Well,
do they have...
Can I go back and see the board again? Distracting to not see the... Cool.
Can you see the board?
Yes. Yeah. And then move the equity calculator. No, that's
I can't. Oh my gosh, I broke it. I can't have one open and not the other. So the board is 10-8-2. That doesn't matter. The question is, what hands do my opponent have? He checked his big blind. So do they have aces?
Okay, so no. Well, no. I mean, I highly doubt that. But he's got weak hands, right? He just wants to see a flop for free, and he'll probably fold actually.
I think what's likely is that they don't have the best hands. So what you can do with this, you can actually get rid of good hands. So it's likely they have like these hands or something, because they'd often raise with all these good hands. They would check some of them. They would check a bunch of these hands. But they've basically got all this junk. All these junky hands that are rubbish. And on a lot of flops, a load of these hands will be utter rubbish. So what I want to do, forgetting I have ace 10, because it doesn't matter that I have ace 10, I've got to think about all the different hands I have. I want a strategy.
You want to get max value out of them? Or...
I want to get max value sometimes, and I want to make them fold really cheaply a hell of a lot of the time. Because if we bet and they fold 6-2, that's fine. Let's say we don't have ace 10. Let's say we have ace 9, and they have 6-2, and we bet and they fold. That's a great result, because 6-2 has 25% equity against us here. Any 6 or a 2 makes them the best hand.
Wait, what?
If they have 6-2, and we have ace 9, they have a 25% chance to win the hand.
If you have ace 9. Yeah. Okay.
So if we bet and they fold, they've lost 25% equity, and that's great. That's fantastic. So I typically, after I've limped, I bet the minimum a lot, because as we saw in that little infographic a second ago, they have so many rubbish hands.
Huh?
Sophia, you've frozen.
Oh, sorry. That's because you moved Discord off.
Oh no, how do I fix it?
You need to put Discord back where it was.
Oh, wait, I think you're fixed. Is Sophia moving again? Yeah, you're moving again. Okay, fixed.
Okay. Sorry about the noise, guys, didn't realise.
So yeah, my overall strategy, blind on blind, is to limp loads, and then when the flop comes, bet almost all the time. So if I'm going to want to bluff here with like 5-6 suited, 5-6 of hearts. I need to do it with good hands too, so I want to bet when I've got a really good hand, and right now we have a really good hand. So I do bet, and they call.
Okay.
So a minute ago, we were thinking about all the hands they could have. Now that they've made another action, now that they've called a bet, we've got to narrow that down. We've got to decide what hands do they have now, so they can have what hands could they have when they call a bet on that flop. Remember, they started with all the raggedy rubbish hands. They don't have aces or kings and things like that. They have things like 10 deuce offsuit.
3.
When they check 3.
Yeah.
3-6, 3-2.
Yep.
They have 8-7.
8. Yeah.
They could have 7-9. They could have Jack-9. They could have things like that. They could have an ace now and then, because some people will be.
Yeah, maybe like an ace 3. No, yeah, ace 3.
Ace 3 makes sense. Ace 5 maybe. They might call with ace 5 thinking that we don't have anything and that ace high is good. So they're the kind of hands we're suspecting they have. And the turn comes a 7. And we got another decision. Do we bet or do we check?
Well, we said that they could have 8-7.
But they could also have 8-4. 8-9. So we got.
I guess I would bet again.
Yeah, I like betting again, and I do. So I bet a bit more now because I think their range is a little stronger than it was before. So I'm increasing how much I'm betting. I'm betting almost half pot now. I still probably have the best hand, top pair, top kicker against a lot of drunky hands. So we bet again. Our opponent calls, and the river is about as blank as it can be. That's not going to improve many hands at all. Now what?
Yeah. That's pretty gross. I don't know what he has that he keeps calling.
Well, think about it. What hands make sense? What hands would you keep calling with if you were this player? Remember, you started with all the rubbishy hands, but then you caught something on this flop, and you've called another bet there.
Oh yeah, this flop has a lot of rubbishy cards, so
yeah,
could have like even 2 pair or something.
So maybe they started with.
I'm gonna have like 3, 7 or 3, 8.
Yeah, they could have hands like that. So they could have all the hands with 8s in them. They all make sense.
Yeah.
Pocket 8s maybe. They could have all the hands with 10s in them.
Yeah.
The 10s.
Yeah, they could have like 10.
They could have 3. Was 3-7 a straight draw on the turn, or 3-9? 3-9 would be a straight draw on the turn.
Right.
So they had bottom pair on the flop, and then on the turn they turned to straight draw. They could have hands like that.
Yeah.
How are we doing against all these hands, do you think? We've got ace 10, remember? We're all the way up here with ace 10. For top pair, top kicker. Oh, there's more 8s here, look. They could have hands like that, hands like that. They could have jack 9 for the straight. So we kind of got to come to a decision. Can we bet one more time for value, or do we check? I mean, no matter what happens, I'm seeing showdown. I'm not check folding. We're far too strong for that.
Yes.
So do we check call, or do we bet and hope they call?
Well, they could have 9 jack. And hit the straight draw on the turn. Hit straight on the turn.
Would they, when the turn came and we bet, would they just call, or would they raise?
No, they would probably re-raise.
Yeah, not all the time, but a bunch of the time. So they might not have all of their jack 9s now.
Raise them?
I love it. Half pot I've gone for. I think that's okay.
Yep.
Yeah, not too greedy. This, if we get any bigger, he's probably going to fold an 8. And he has a lot of 8s. He can have 8-9, 8-4, 8-3, things like that. And I really don't want him to fold an 8. Or even, this might not get him to fold a 7 even, if he had 7-9. 7-9 might make a call here, thinking we'll just add it. So, yeah, I definitely like betting. I don't mind this sizing at all, personally. We do get a call, and our opponent had a 10. Worse 10 than us, and we get a lovely pot there.
Yep. Oh, what a shame.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. We're going to fold the queen too. Still six-handed. 7-8 suited. Now what?
7-8 suited with
So we've got to look at the stack sizes of all the opponents and decide, can we play 7-8 suited? Yeah, I think you're right, Artie. Artie Smoke says our opponent was capped because on the turn you'd think they would raise with all their really good hands. So just like we said, they couldn't have Jack 9. That's what Artie's referring to there. So 7-8 suited. Can we afford to call a raise from this villain? Do you remember the rule for calling with suited connectors?
No.
No. We want about. It varies, but there's a whole bunch of factors, obviously. I usually want to be able to get paid 20 times what the villains got. So I've got to call 75. So they would need...
let me write that down.
Yeah. So while I've got 1.5 million, 75 does go into 1.5 million 20 times. But in this case, we've got 3 players who could ruin the fun. They could 3-bet, and that would make me sad, because then we'd have to fold. But more importantly, this guy doesn't have 1.5 million. The most we can win is this 500,000 he's got there. This 440,000.
So you say you want to make 20 times what you put in?
Yeah. You want to be able to win 20 times what you're going to put in. So if I'm putting in 75,000 here, I want to be able to win 1.5 million, which is 20 times 75, if I've done my maths right. I really hope I have.
Yes. And you can't because he only has 443k behind him, and we've also got 2 other people who are being annoying, so... They
could be annoying. This guy has 3 betters before, so we do fold, and it pains me because it's such a pretty hand, but we've got to be disciplined. We went in the big blind there. No, Jack 8 off, we're going to fold. Ace Jack off, and we're in the big blind. Folds round to the small blind.
We have a disguised hand now.
Folds to the small blind, and they call, just like we would with our ace 10, if you remember earlier, just like the guy with jacks did earlier. But he'll have a whole bunch of other hands. He'll have like 9-5 suited that is happy to pay just, 17,500 more to try and see a flop. So they call, and now we've got a decision. Do we check or do we raise? Okay, actually, can I pause you there? Because a friend of mine's asked a good question about the hand we had when we had ace 10 and they had 10 jack and we got the river.
Yeah.
Spurs says, if I hit the straight on the turn, blind on blind, not sure I'd raise as I think you have too many bluffs in your range. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean it varies from person to person, Spurs. Some people, if I think my opponent will bluff a lot, then maybe I won't raise on the turn. Maybe I'll just call and let my opponent and let the river come, because it was a really safe board for a straight. It's not like there was loads of diamonds or something on there that was scaring us. So yeah, it would be okay to call. People tend to get excited though. If people get a set or 2 pair or a straight, they get excited and raise. That's the typical norm. That's my taking of it. So I'd usually preclude them from having. I don't say they definitely can't have it. I just reduce the probability of them having it in my head by a bunch. Okay, sorry, Sophia. Back to this ace jack. So our opponent limps, and we've got a decision with ace jack. What do you want to do?
I mean, we could. I would be happy just calling it.
Just checking.
Just checking. Sorry. Just to see, and then.
I don't think
and then start.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I think one thing we got to think about. Remember when this guy checked and we were saying he has a lot of rubbish junky hands?
Yeah.
If we check a hand like this, that means we have a nice disguised strong hand to deceive our opponents, and that can be a good thing. So we should check some good hands sometimes, and because we've been playing, this is the end of the tournament, we'll have been playing with this guy a lot, so it's important to do some disguised balancing things like that. So I don't hate a check. I think my default, though, would be to raise. I think I would be more inclined to check a suited good hand, because they play just a little bit better on the flop. they can pick up they can pick up backdoor flush draws that we can be fighty with a little bit more effectively. So I'd lean towards raising this one. And,
raise the offsuit one, and then we can check a suited one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do raise. I raise. Is that 3 times the blind? Just a little less than 3 times the blind, and I think that's fine. And our opponent calls. Ooh.
Oh wow.
Lovely, lovely. Our opponent checks.
Just flop the world.
Well, I don't know about the world, but we flop pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. So our opponent check calls our bet pre-flop, and now we've got another decision. Check our bet.
See, now sometimes in these situations I'm tempted to check just to make them think that we didn't hit anything. And then they might start betting into us, which is what we want when we have a nice hand.
Absolutely. The crucial question is, how often do we do that? And I don't know the answer. It depends on your opponent, how bluffy they are, and all kinds of things like that.
How it feels, yeah.
So, yeah, I like that school of thought. We can check and be deceptive, or we can go ahead and bet because we've got a good hand. Either's fine.
Yeah. We can put in like a not quite half pot, but just a
little bit less than half.
A bet that makes them want to call.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that idea. I typically probably would bet. We've got a strong hand. There's a few cards I don't like. I don't want to see a 9 or a 10. Them 2 cards would be iffy on the turn. I don't want to see a king or a queen. Those cards would be pretty bad on the turn because it would make sense for them to have a hand with a king or a queen in it. So I think I'd lean towards betting this one. If I was a little stronger, I'd be a little more inclined to check. If this jack was a queen and we had ace queen.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But you're absolutely right. We should check this hand sometimes. I bet. I'm just excited about having top pair, and I bet though. So let's see what happens. I do bet.
Yeah.
And I do the same sizing you just said, a little bit less than half pot. We could go even less actually, because we want to bluff cheaply. So maybe we could go even less than this, but that's a smaller point. We do get a call. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Now you got the world.
Now we're being greedy. Our opponent checks, and now what? Now we're very, very safe. Like
now, I would be definitely inclined to check, but I don't know if that comes off as too obvious that we have the jack and that we're.
I don't think it does. I think we would do this with a bunch of hands. An 8.
Yeah, okay. Sense. Ace 8, yeah, or even king 8.
So yeah, I'd be inclined to check, and that might look weak, and our opponent might bluff the river. I might be greedy though, because I do get very fucking greedy in this game. So let's see if I do. I do get greedy, and I bet. I wonder what history I've got with villain 4. I might.
Because now he might call.
Now he might not call, but you know what? He check called pre-flop, and he called a bet on the flop. So he's kind of told us he has something. So I guess I've just decided to be greedy and try and get the maximum value from him.
He has a jack too.
He could have a jack too.
If he had a jack too.
And villain 4 isn't going to fold an 8, and they're not going to fold 9-10. So I guess that's why I've leaned towards betting in this exact instance.
Okay.
I think a check's probably. I think it's probably close. I think you can check it or bet it.
Yep.
So yeah, we have bet. Let's see what happens. He does fold, so maybe a bit of a wasted opportunity there. I got greedy.
Yeah.
Clearly an easy hand.
That's the thing, is when you do feel like you have a hand that is pretty much unbeatable this time, then I feel like it's always like, might check it.
Oh, Sick Hango has made a very good point. So if we go back to the flop, Sick Hangover says, when we have ace jack, we want to bet more often because they can have worse jacks. When we have, say, jack 9, we can check more often as we don't want to bet 3 streets and are less scared of turns like clubs 10s. Oh yeah, so if we had jack 9 of clubs here, Sick Hangover says, the 10 isn't a bad card, and a club isn't a bad card. In fact, they're very good cards for us. And if they have a jack as well, and we have jack 9, their jack's probably better than ours. So Sick Hangover's more inclined to check, like you were saying, with a hand like jack 9, to slow play the jack, be a little bit deceptive with it, than the ace jack, because when you have ace jack, they can be the one with jack 9, and we can be making money from them. So that's a very good point, Sick Hangover. Okay, so we were greedy, and we lost our villain on the turn. I wonder what would have happened if we checked. Oh well, never mind.
Ace queen.
Ace queen. And everyone folds to us, and we've got a decision. What did we do last time? We had ace 10 last time, and we just called, didn't we?
Yeah, we called.
So we're going to stick with the same strategy. And our opponent checks, and we get a very good flop again.
Yeah, wow, this is why you're good at poker. You just hit it every
I just fucking get there all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, that's just
So.
Okay, so
what would we do with Jack Queen? Pretend you don't have Ace Queen. What would we do with Jack Queen?
I mean, with Jack Queen, I would definitely be more inclined to try and shut down the pot.
Yeah, we'd probably bet and just try and win. So if we want to do that with bluffy hands, like, I don't know, 7-8 or Jack Queen or whatever, we need to do it with good hands. So I'd like to see me bet, and I do. And remember, I did this exact same thing last time. I bet, and he might be a bit annoyed. So I'm very much inclined to bet and see if we can get him fighting with us, because we've got a very strong hand here. Opponent this call.
Yep.
Turns a blank. Now what?
2 lost nothing for anyone, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we're in the same situation. Again, you can continue betting, because he called that, and the 2 isn't making any difference.
Ooh, I've gone sneaky. I don't mind betting again.
Oh.
But we have to be sneaky from time to time.
Okay, now you want to check, do you?
Now I want to check. Apparently.
Oh yeah, I mean, checking there is okay, because then it's like, at first it looks like you're trying to represent like one of the high hands, and then the fact that he calls, and then you check again, it's like, okay, now I'm backing off because I actually didn't have one of those hands, and you called me, so you probably have one of those.
Yeah. So let's see if my opponent bites. They don't. They check. So when they check on the turn there, they're kind of telling me they can win just by checking on the river as well. That's usually what that means. If they had like a hand like Jack Queen, they might be inclined to bet to try and make us fold. To try and make us fold like a bad pair or something like that. Make us fold a 4, make us fold pocket 5s or something. So
I certainly hope that they don't have Jack Queen now.
I certainly hope they don't have Jack Queen now. But we have a Queen, so it's hard for them to have Jack Queen. It's harder for them to have Jack Queen. I'd like to see myself bet here, because I think it's pretty likely my opponent has like a 10 something. I think that's a very likely hand here. He called a bet on the flop, check the turn. He doesn't want to play a big pot, so he hasn't got a super strong hand. And he doesn't really have a bluffy hand, because he doesn't... a 10 isn't a hand he wants to make us fold. Like,
yep.
So I'd like to see myself bet, hopefully getting money from a 10. I do. I bet 90, and our opponent folds. So I guess maybe they had a 4 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just happy to call 1. Okay, ace 8 offsuit, and it folds to us. What shall we do?
We can 3-bet this one, right?
2-bet. No one's opened yet.
Oh, right, of course, that's what I meant.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to open. Again, I'm being a little bit lazy.
Yeah.
I would open a little bit more. I would go like 75,000, just a little bit more.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my.
Oh no.
Oh my.
Oh no.
I don't have to ask you. I don't have to ask you. We're out. What happens? So we have the second best hand. So this guy shoved all in with ace 5 suited. Perfectly reasonable. And as 1 against the pocket 9s of villain 5.
Yeah.
So let's continue. We'll be folding that. 8 queen suited. What do you think about this hand then?
Fold.
I think it's very close. I think it's probably the worst hand I do raise with. Yeah, I think it's okay to raise this hand, personally.
Okay.
It's very close. I don't hate a fold at all. In fact, and while you're still learning the game, I do advocate playing a little bit tighter. But I think it's fine to open this hand.
Okay.
Unfortunately, villain 1 maybe knows we're playing a little bit loose. Oh my gosh, I called. How much has he raised? Okay, so villain 1 hasn't raised very much at all. It's kind of scary because there's, like, there's 6 digits out there and lots of 8s. So it looks like he's raised a lot of chips. But in reality, in my opinion, you should be raising like 3 times my raise. So he's raised a little bit less than that. So we've got a really good price. So I guess that's tempted me into calling. I think overall I should be folding. I don't think the price is good enough to call with a queen 8 suited here. But I've been tempted in. I've been suckered in by the good price. So let's see what happens. I do call. And we get a pretty ugly flop. I'm going to check to the raiser. And I imagine he's going to bet. And we're going to have to fold.
And you're going to fold.
Yeah. So that was a little bit loose from me, I think. I think folding pre is okay. I think it's fine. I did opt to raise. After I raised, I should probably just surrender to his 3-bet, though. That was me being a little bit sticky, a little bit too loose, I think. Yeah, I'm not backing down, though. I'm raising Jack 8 suited, so let's see what happens here. I think this one probably is a fold, but...
Yes, because now you're under the gun, and a Jack 8 suited is even worse than your Queen 8 suited.
You don't have to tell me, I know. I'm in a loosey-goosey mood, apparently.
And you're even in a worse position.
I know. I'm just in the mood. I'm of a mood. So we have raised. So now that we've found ourselves in this position, now what? Was Ian drunk? Ian was not drunk. Behave yourself, Blom.
No, you're stuffed.
I'm not stuffed. We can make this work.
I mean, you can... Yes, if you get 2 hearts.
Or, how else can we make this work?
2 jacks.
We're just going to bet and win. We're just going to bet and win. So, I'm actually hoping to do a tutorial with you guys in Bucharest about how much to bet. And record that, hopefully, if we get some airtime. I'd like to do that with you and all the esporters. So I am going to bet here. I'm not just going to check and give up. I didn't play this loosey-goosey hand to check and just hope for the best. I'm definitely going to be aggressive with it. The important thing is to have a plan. So we need to know what turn cards we're going to bluff again on. So we bluffed. Let's pretend villain calls. We need a plan for the next card. What cards are we going to bluff on again?
I don't know.
Well, what cards will be pretty for us?
A heart.
Aha! So let's bluff. Let's bet again if the turn comes the 2 of hearts.
But is it really a bluff when we have a flush draw, a Jack high flush draw now? It's kind of like a semi-bluff.
It's a semi-bluff, yeah, but that's what we do. We typically always are semi-bluffing. We usually have something to go along.
A little bit of something to do.
Yeah, something. Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we can definitely go again in the heart.
Yeah. Any other cards?
Any one of your a Jack or an 8?
See, I'd be inclined to check those, because then we can just win with our pair of jacks.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense, yeah.
So I'd be inclined to keep the pot a little bit controlled. I might bet, if the turn comes a jack, I might bet on the river with that hand, hoping that he calls with a 7.
Okay, I don't know what other cards would we
a 9 or a 10 would give us a straight draw, so I might bluff with those cards again.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
We do get the fold, though. 3-9 off, but we're in the big blind. Let's see what happens. Oh, we're just going to fold. Just fold, Eenie.
Get rid of it.
Fold pre, Eenie.
Oh, king, queen, and you're on the small blind.
Ooh. And villain number 3 has gone all in for... How many big blinds? 10... 14? Is that 14 big blinds? I'm going to use my calculator. I'm not ashamed. 448, not. Divided by, what's the big blind? 35? 12.8 big blinds.
Bigs. Okay, I would be inclined to call that, because then the big blind.
Oh my god! You are absolutely 100% right, and I apparently have nitty titties. You are 100% right. That is definitely a call, and this is a terrible, terrible mistake by Eenie. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm ashamed of myself. I can't believe I folded that. Oh my gosh.
Well, yeah, because now if
I'm so ashamed.
Then then villain 1 has to fold too. He can't play anything.
My gosh, this is such nitty
Oh wait,
titties.
do you think if you called, would villain 1
Villain 1,
could call, or would you raise all in so that villain 1 couldn't call?
It varies depending on like a million things. It actually turns into a really tricky decision. We should contest. We should fight against this all in. We should either call or we should raise. We've got like 50 big blinds, so I don't want to go all in for 50 big blinds. We could just we have not got 50 big blinds. Have we got 50 big blinds? Christ, I don't know my 35 times table, like Artie Smoke says. How many big blinds have I got? 1.6 divided by 35. We do have 50 big blinds. We have lots of big blinds. So I don't really want to go all in for 50 big blinds. Or do I?
Okay, so I mean, I'm only thinking of it to make sure that villain 1 doesn't call, because otherwise then you gotta, if he calls, then it's a bit more stickier, and he could even go all in. If he had like a monster hand, he can shove all in, and then you're in a situation where you need to either say goodbye to 12 big blinds or call with king queen off.
And that's where it gets really tricky. So if we call and this guy goes all in, we can't call again. We have to just fold. But we can balance that out by just calling with aces here. And then if they go all in, haha, we've got them. So our king queen is protected in that regards. Does that make sense?
Sure. So to keep it balanced, you do the same call with your king queen as you would with aces. Beautiful. But you know, the next time it happens, there's a good chance, or there's a chance that you actually have a monster hand to come back at with. Okay.
Let me just say.
And then nitty titties folds.
Yeah, I think it's nitty titties.
Yeah.
I can't see Maestro step. Maybe I thought I was showing something big. Maybe he thought his shoving range might be tighter because of the 193k stack. If this was final table. Oh yeah, that is a factor. But yeah, so you see this villain here, Sophia? Villain 5 with 193k. So they're nearly out. So villain 3 might play tighter to try and outlast villain 5. But even still, I think this is going to be a call. We could do a little bit. Oh no, I can't. No, I can't. Oh, I broke it. Yeah, sorry about that. You can use there's a little program called Snapshot, which will give you a rough idea of what you should do here. But that program doesn't take into account the final table dynamics with wanting to outlast people. I still think this is a call. This range is going to be sufficiently wide enough for this to be fine. They're still going to have all the pocket pairs that we're in a flip against, and we've got 1.2 to 1, so that's fine. They're going to have king 9 suited and better. They're going to have queen 9 suited and better, things like that. They're probably going to have king 9 offsuit. They're going to have a whole bunch of hands that we're doing great against. They're going to have like ace deuce, which we're in a flip against, and we've got fine odds to go against that. So yeah, I think this is too nitty personally. Yeah. Nitty titties. Nitty titties. Queen 6 we fold. 3-9. HRC time? Yeah. If my subscription hadn't ran out, we could HRC it. We're going to fold 9-4. Ace 4 offsuit, under the gun. Badini, don't do it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is too loose. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I
would fold that for sure, under the gun.
And villain 1.
Oh, see, look, now you're getting punished.
Getting punished. And this villain's 3-bet us quite a lot, so maybe he knows that I'm playing a little too loose. Maybe he knows what kind of mood I'm in.
Yeah, maybe he knows that you had an ace 4 off there.
Yeah. I'm just going to fold that. Let's see how these two play out. So villain 4 is raised on the button. Villain 1 is called. Check, bet, call. So we're tending to think that villain 1 has a 3, a 4, or a king, or maybe a pocket pair, or maybe an ace high. Check, another bet, and another call.
Oh my god.
So when villain 1 check called on the flop, we thought it was reasonable he could have a 3 or 4.
Yeah.
When he check
but
calls,
now he's called again.
Now he's called again. We probably discount those hands. He might have ace 4, maybe.
Okay.
But he's probably going to start backing down with his baby pairs now. Deuce on the river, and it goes check check, and ace queen against 6s. Interesting bet on the turn from the 6s. I don't think I like that. 5-4 we don't play. 6-5, ace deuce. Okay, so we're in the big blind, and villain 1 raises. What do you want to do?
We're in the big blind, and he's under the gun. Yeah, I mean, we can just call it.
Yep, I like it. We've got good odds. We've got an ace. Let's call. Let's see the flop. Now, one thing we got to remember is that we're going to be calling a lot in our big blind because we have great odds. So if you look here,
yes, but we're also going to be folding a lot, I guess, on the flop.
Yep, but that's totally okay because right here we've got 3.6 to 1. So it's totally okay to call now and fold a lot on the flop because of those great odds pre-flop.
Yep.
So, and against a pretty big sizing as well, he's gone like more than half pot. I do want to see me
so
fold.
we're just going to throw it away.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I'm so fucking loose. Okay.
Oh, well, I mean, you got lucky.
I guess, I wonder what's going on here. I mean, this guy, I could check something out. Yeah, my opponent is pretty loose. So this is something called a HUD. So they've been betting on the flop like 90% of the time. And they raise pre-flop 30% of the time, which is a lot. So that is why I'm being extra sticky here. I wondered if there was a reason. There must have been a reason. So I have been extra sticky just with an ace high, assuming my opponent has a lot of like king jacks, 8-9s, 9-10s, and a lot of other cans that have missed. Because it is a very dry board. It's really hard to have hit this board. So I have been a little sticky. I don't think I like it against such a big bet. But let's go from there. So we hit our ace, and our opponent bets again. Now what?
Well, now you have to call.
Absolutely. 6 on the river. So now we have 2 pair, aces and 6s with a queen kicker. So our deuce doesn't matter anymore. Oh my, and our opponent puts us all in.
See, now, he could be bluffing us.
He could be bluffing us.
With the clubs. Spades, sorry. He could be...
we have the deuce of spades, so it's just a little bit harder for him to have flushes. That's a small factor. Because a flush would be something that beat us. And it's just a little bit harder because we've got the deuce of spades. Just a little bit. I don't know how relevant that is. It's a tiny little thing.
I mean, just a itty-bitty factor to account for. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty gross. I mean, I would be probably inclined to fold, but yeah, there's a good chance that he's just bullshitting you and we actually have the best hand.
Yeah, I can't remember what I did. I think, given that he's pretty loose aggressive, I'm inclined to call, because we will split the pot a lot. You'll have like ace 8. It sucks when he has like ace 7, or ace queen, or ace king. Or ace 6. But I think I'm inclined to lean towards a call. I do call it. And our opponent flips over king 9 suited. So
he was bluffing.
So all my decisions there came from him playing too many hands pre-flop and betting on the flop too often. That's why I did everything I did there.
Something that we can't really track with Unibet.
Yes, indeed.
We don't have
HUD. So, yeah. Now, just so you know, my parents are coming over with my niece within the next 40 minutes.
Okay.
So I'll have
40 minutes, our session ends anyway.
Well, yeah, it's within the next 40 minutes. I think they're going to come over anytime from 3:30. So just so you know. And then I'll have to skedaddle then. But we'll continue.
Fine. Yep.
Okay. King 6 not going to do anything. 6-2, no thank you. 8-10 offsuit. What position are we in? No, don't do it, Ian. Oh my gosh, I'm so loose. It's definitely on the looser side. I think what I'm leveraging here, though, is the fact that I've got the chip lead, and people aren't going to want to bust before the short stack. So that's what I'm leveraging. I still think this is too loose, but I'm obviously in a very loosey-goosey mood.
Yeah.
Villain 1 calls. Now remember, Villain 1's been 3-betting at a reasonable amount, so it's interesting that they just call. Can't believe I'm opening this. I'm so loose.
Oh god. Oh well, actually, no, yeah.
So now that I've started the story, I'm going to continue the story, and I'm going to.
Well, yeah,
lie.
yeah, we got shot straight draw.
And we got a good shot straight draw to go with it, so I am going to have a lie, and hopefully, do I give up or do I keep betting? I don't hate another bet, you know. We're not going to win with 10 high. And our opponent could fold a queen or a king. So, no, I do check. We get a 10 on the river. So, there's 4 to the straight out there.
Yeah, I mean, I would just check it. You could win with the 10, but...
Yeah, I don't mind checking it either. Queen 9's good.
And he checks it.
Punished for being loose again.
Yeah.
Oh wait, we were in the big blind a moment ago. Small blind was 6-9. Okay, so what should we do here? What did we do with? Well, we've got 4.5 to 1. We can call. I think calling's fine. We're doing the exact same thing we did with Ace Queen.
Yep.
So our opponent can't know that we have a shitty hand. He can't know that we have a really strong hand. We're staying reasonably balanced. Right. We've got 4 to 1. Yeah. So we've got really good odds to call and try and see a flop. And we do. And now what? We've got a straight draw and 3 diamonds, which is a little bit of something. We also only have 9 high.
Yeah. But we could bet here.
I like it. And we're just going to bet them in, just like we did with our ace queen and our ace 10 earlier when we had top pairs and stuff. Our opponent calls. Our opponent's quite the sticky sort. Yeah. Now what? The aces came on the turn.
Well, we can maybe do another bet here, and because he might fold if he thinks we have the ace.
We can definitely pretend we have an ace, because we would do all this with an ace. So our line makes perfect sense. And you know, we can still improve. We can still hit that miracle card on the river to make a straight.
Yep.
Yeah. So
he folds.
Good.
And you won with
9 high.
Crap hand. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. I hope I fold that. I'm just going to double check. Actually, that wouldn't be the worst open. A suited jack, that'll be fine. Hello.
Oh,
hello. I'm not going to ask you. You know what to do. Villain 1 just calls. So remember they did that earlier with Queen 9 suited.
Yep.
And we're off to the flop. Oh, great. Okay, let's put ourselves to the test. We're against a loose aggressive villain. We've got aces, but we've got pretty much the worst board for being against a loose aggressive villain. What shall we do? Hello, Irish in Spain. What shall we do? We don't have the ace of spades.
I would still bet.
Okay.
I mean, the bet is a good indicator of whether he hit anything on that board, right? And then if he 3-bets us, then we know that he has the straight.
Or a 2-pair or something we can fold.
Yeah.
I try not to bet to get information from my opponent. That's
okay.
I always make a bet, hoping if a better hand can fold or a worse hand can call. That's the reasons I make a bet. In this spot, we can, and you've also got to think about pot control. How big a pot do we want to play here? I want to play an itty bitty pot because I'm terrified of this board when I've got aces.
Okay.
At the same time, we have aces. I kind of want to protect them. I don't want it to go check, check, and the turn comes the queen of spades. Or the 8 of something. So I'm really torn as to what to do here. I think I'll lean towards a check, actually. Because it's so damn scary. And try and keep the pot small.
Okay.
And I have checked. And our opponent bets. Now, this isn't surprising at all. Because we know they're pretty loose aggressive. So I'm definitely not folding. So let's call one. And let's see what happens on the turn.
Alright, that's...
pretty ugly. We're definitely going to check to the better. We've lost the betting initiative now. And he... checks back, which is interesting. The river's another 7. Now what?
Now I think we can bet.
I love it. Why can we bet?
Oh, because he just checked the turn, so he's I don't know. I don't think he's really connected. Maybe he has like 9 or something.
What would you do with Jack 10 if you were villain number 1 here when the turn comes 4 to the straight?
Wait, say that again.
So let's pretend we're villain 1 and we've got 10 Jack, because that would make sense, right? He called earlier with Queen 9, so we could have 10 Jack. He could have 9 Jack, 9 10. What would those hands do? Those lovely 2-pair hands on this turn card that makes the 4 to the straight on the board. They would check, right? If they have Jack 10 on this turn card.
Why would they check?
Well, because they're scared, because there's 4 to the straight on there. There's 7, 9, 10,
Jack.
Oh,
right. Yeah, okay. They're scared that we have a straight.
Yeah. Now,
okay.
We actually beat those hands now. We have aces and 7s. So if they have 10 Jack, they have 10s and Jacks. We have aces and 7s. Yep. So that's the reason I want to bet, because now we're beating all those 2-pair hands that make perfect sense. We could imagine if they had a straight, they would bet this turn card. Because if they just had pocket 8s, say, they would be scared of spades coming. They would be scared of the board pairing like it has. They would be scared of kings and queens coming to make bigger straights. So I'm really going to go out on a limb and say they probably don't have a straight. They could have pocket 9s, pocket 10s, and pocket jacks, but they've been 3-betting us a lot. So they probably have been 3-betting those hands a good chunk of the time as well. So I think our opponent is really weighted towards having 9 10, 10 jack, jack 9, those kinds of hands. Okay. So I want to see me bet. Oh, I'm such a nit. Oh my gosh. The opponent checks back, and they had queens. So we definitely would have got a bet paid. So that's definitely a mistake I've made there.
Eeny.
I know, it's terrible. But that's why we do these reviews, to catch the mistakes and see, and to improve. So yeah, I definitely like your idea of betting that river, because there's lots of worse hands that can call us, and they probably don't have a better hand, because they would have bet those hands on the turn.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm surprised to see that you didn't actually bet. You checked
far too
bet with queens.
And it's important to note that our opponent didn't 3-bet the queens, because they have been 3-betting us a bunch.
Yeah, he just
called pre-flop.
Yeah.
I think that's a mistake from them. I mean, obviously, in this case, it would have seen them end
it. Yeah, sure, it wouldn't have mattered, but yes.
But when they've been 3-betting so much, and then they flat call, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's deceptive, and it fooled me. But when they've been 3-betting so much, they can expect us to start fighting back, and they've got a really strong hand. So.
Yeah, they had a really strong hand on the flop.
Yeah, they had a very interesting hand on the flop. Yeah. They had an overpair and a straight draw, open-ended straight draw. It's kind of a interesting hand, because if a lot of action happens, they're probably in a coin flip, because if we're willing to put loads of money in on this flop, and they are as well, we probably have like pocket jacks, pocket 9s, pocket 10s, 10 jack or something that's ahead, but not actually ahead by that much.
Yeah.
So Queen 3. Good, I folded. I made a good decision. Alright, we're in the big blind with Queen 6, and our aggressive opponent raises. What you want to
do? Call.
Call. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I did fold. I think it's pretty close. He is in first position, but he is pretty loose, so we've got pretty good odds. I think a call would be fine. Yeah, I think a call's probably just best, but I guess it is pretty raggedy, and he is under the gun, so that's what's leading me towards folding there.
Okay.
But you're right, we should defend our big blind a lot. Okay, now what? We've got 10-5 offsuit in the small blind, with our aggressive opponent on the big blind. Now, they've been checking the big blind a lot when we've limped.
So now you want to limp in again?
Yeah, I don't know. This hand feels pretty.
What do we do? Let's see.
Bleh. I don't mind either decision. I think with them being pretty loose and sticky, I think I would actually lean towards a fold.
Okay.
Because while we have came out on top when we've been tussling blind on blind, we have been making pairs. But they've been really sticky. They've been calling our bets on the flop and calling our bets on the turn. Yep. So I think maybe I should be folding this one because of that reason. And I do. I'm glad. Alright, on the button with Jack 8 offsuit on. Someone gets his turret. I'm going to fold. King 9 suited. We're 5-handed now. Someone busted. We didn't see how. What you want to do?
This is
So we're not. I mean, we're under the gun one, but we're actually also the cutoff because we're only 5-handed.
Yeah, that's why I was really confused.
Yeah, we're also the chip
what
leader.
do you call that then? Yeah, well, might as well play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's raise. Now villain 1 calls again, so we know villain 1 can have queen 9 suited, and they can have pocket queens. That's our 2 little bits of evidence we have about our player here.
Yep.
So worth noting. And the big blind comes along as well, so we've got a 3-way flop. And now we've got a decision. Big blind checks.
Oh.
What shall we do?
Bet.
Yeah, I like a bet too. I've checked. Interesting.
And you check.
I guess what I'm thinking is that this board is pretty perfect for this guy. Like, if they have hands like 10 jack, 7-8, 9-10, things like that, they're going to be betting. And I don't want to be playing a huge pot. And they can have overpairs. We've seen them flat call with overpairs. So I wonder if that's leaning into my thinking. And we are 3-handed. Yeah, I think I do lean towards a bet, but I guess I've checked with that in mind, thinking that we've got a loose aggressive opponent on our left, and we're going to let him do the betting. Opponent checks, turns an ace. Bleh. Now I've backed myself into a bit of a
shit situation.
Bit of a shit situation.
Yeah,
I guess I check again, but I get sticky. I check and probably call a bet because it's a great bluff card for villain 1. So I do check. Villain 1 checks again, so we probably have the best hand.
Yep.
Do something, River?
No, we're gonna bet.
I don't know.
I bet you're gonna check again. I bet.
I don't know what's best actually, because kind of worse hand call. I guess it makes sense for our opponent to have like pocket 7s, 6s, or 5s, or 4s, or 3s, so they might call a bet. I think we're better off checking and inducing villain 1 to bluff, because villain 1 has been quite aggressive.
Alright then.
So I think I would lean towards checking. I don't think a bet's terrible, because everyone's shown such weakness that we probably do have the best hand, so just betting with the best hand and hoping for a call from worse seems okay. We do check, and I hope I make a not loving life, but I think we have to call. I think our pair's too strong to fold. Let's see what we do. We do call, and we run into ace jack. So yeah, checking that flop was a mistake. It meant a scary card could come, and our opponent outdrew us for free. So we got punished. That's okay. We live, we learn. King 10, gonna raise. We're only 5-handed. And we just win. Easy game. 8-9 offsuit in the big blind. Oh, everyone folds. Easy game. 4-6 off in the small blind. So we folded 10-5, but that wasn't connected. This is just marginally connected. Yeah, it's probably okay to learn, but I'm not loving that it's this opponent, so fold might lead me towards that. Let's see what I do. I do just fold. I think against a weaker opponent, we could just call.
Okay.
Because our bets on the flop are going to be really effective at winning, but we've seen that they aren't. So that's why I'm being a little bit snugger and just folding there. Jack 8 suited on the button. What do you want to do?
Play it.
Play it. Gonna go in for a race, and we just win. Lovely. How's your head with all the information? I used to ask my students that when I used to be a teacher.
How's your head with all the information?
Yeah, I used to get something I called a chemistry headache. So when I was doing A-level chemistry, I would just be like burned out after an hour. So I'm just checking that your brain's not just turned to mush, because I remember when I was first learning poker and doing stuff like this, my brain does just turn to mush after an hour.
Yeah.
So how's your head so far?
I mean, it's definitely getting there. There's a lot of information to swallow. I'm just hoping that it swallows enough to put some lessons into use.
Yeah. Let's do one more hand.
Okay.
One more hand analysis, and then we'll call it a day. So ace-4 offsuit, and our opponent is raised from first position. We are only 5-handed though. What do you want to do with ace-4?
We'll play.
Let's call. Good. And we have the ace of spades. That's pretty critical. We're going to check to the razor, and our opponent checks back. Now, our opponent's been betting almost all the time. So this is interesting that they finally check back. Something strange is afoot.
Yes, they could have a monster hand that they're trying to disguise there.
Maybe, yeah.
But
equally...
Can't really...
Yeah, we might just be seeing monsters under the bed. But a check back is certainly very strange, so I'm just going to be a little bit cautious. I'm going to keep checking to the razor. So we've turned our ace. Now the thing is, this is a perfect bluff card for him. So while I'm a little bit concerned, he could still check back. We have seen him play things tricky, like pocket queens. So he could, like, remember when he flat called with pocket queens? So he can do some weird stuff. So definitely could have done something weird by checking this flop with like a king queen or something, which he could have done. So I'm definitely going to call. 7 on the river. So now we have aces and 7s with a jack kicker. And it's also harder for him to have pocket 7s, which might have been one of the scary hands we were worried about, because there's another 7 on board.
Yeah.
So it's a little harder for him to have that. So I'm going to check.
And now our 4 is irrelevant now as well.
Yes.
Because it's 2 pairs, so that's a good win for us to have 2 7s on the table.
And our opponent bets the river. So what you want to do?
Call.
I like it. We do call, and our opponent rocks up with ace 10. So we split the pot.
This is a chop.
Chop pot. Everybody loves a chop pot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I tell you what, let's call it there, because I'm concerned about overloading your brain, and I do have to clean out the cat litter before my parents get here. Otherwise, MZ will kill me.
That's fine.
Oh.
Okay, if quick question, but if that wasn't a 7 on the river, if that's like a 3 or something, what do you do then? You still call?
I still check call, and we lose, and that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do a lot of check calling and losing against loose, aggressive opponents, and that's okay, because we'll check call and win enough to compensate for that. Sometimes in poker we just lose.
That's I can definitely relate to that.
That's the game. We lose it. We lose. I'm going to try and remember that we're up to ace-4 offsuit in the last 100 hands of this tournament, because we could do the rest of it and just keep going at a later date.
I'll just write it down. Ace off.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Sophia, for the host and for having
Thank
me
you very
and
much.
making a fun stream. It's been good.
What do you mean? Thank you for having me on the show.
It's all good. It's all good. Mutually beneficial. So yeah, I'm gonna go and clean some cat litter. I wish I was staying to do some more of this, but that's my life now.
I enjoy cleaning cat litter.
Thank you very much. Are you streaming yourself, or are you just chilling?
I'll be streaming in a little bit.
You're streaming a little bit? So check out Sophia's channel, twitch.tv/DJARII. Right?
Yes, Djarii.
Djarii.
Yes.
And she'll be streaming, I don't know what she's streaming, but she'll be streaming something, and it'll be lots of fun. So go check that out and give her a follow, guys and girls. Thank you very much, everyone, and I will see you on Sunday. I will be playing the Supernova. I'll be live at 5. Thank you, NMP fan, for that little link. Thank you very much, everyone, for the kind words in chat. Much appreciated. All right, guys. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.